Here's an interesting question for you. Would you eat meat that was grown in a lab? Welcome, I'm Hilary, and this is a Learn Through Listening podcast. We're all about helping you to learn to speak English through listening with interesting topics that give you real-world, useful vocabulary. And today's topic? Well, it's a bit of a surprising one. So picture this. You're in your kitchen and you go to open a tin of dog food. And on the ingredients list, instead of chicken or beef from a farm, it says cultivated chicken. That means chicken grown in a laboratory. And guess what? This is already happening in the UK. Back in July 2024, Britain became the first European country to approve lab-grown meat. So meat created in a science lab or laboratory. Yummy. It has only been approved so far for pet food. So you can give it to your cat or dog, for instance. And a company called Meatly, MEATLY. They've got the green light just a few months later, in February 2025, to sell the world's first cultivated meat dog treat. That's been on sale at Pets at Home in London. The dog treat is called Chicken Bites. Little chicken-flavoured dog treats with cells, CELL, made from a single chicken's egg. One egg, one sample of egg cells, and from that, they can grow enough meaty treats to feed your pets forever. Amazing, isn't it? And a little bit scary. Now that's already happening for our pets. What about us? When might we see lab-grown chicken on our dinner plates? We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's first understand, what is this stuff that we're now able to feed to our pets and which later we may well be eating ourselves? The technical term for it is cultivated meat. To cultivate, cultivate, that means to grow on purpose. So a garden is cultivated if you grow plants in it. You might also hear the term cultured meat. That's the same idea. So how does it work? Well, scientists take a number of cells, CELL, from an animal like a chicken, a cow, or a pig, and those cells go into what's called a bioreactor. That's B-I-O and then R-E-A-C-T-O-R. A bioreactor is a big stainless steel container, like a giant tank where you might make beer. Inside the cells are fed with a liquid that is rich in nutrients, like vitamins, amino acids, and minerals, things that the cells need to grow, in other words. Over about a week, the cells multiply. They increase in number and form a tissue. And the end result is at the level of molecules identical to normal meat from an animal. Apparently, even under a microscope, you cannot tell the difference between cultivated meat and meat from a farm animal. The flavour, the nutrients, they're all the same. For Meatly's pet product, they took the cells from a single egg, fed the cells amino acids and vitamins, and the company say it's basically meat just like from an animal in a field, or I would say more likely a poor animal living in horrible conditions in a barn. In some ways, you could think it's not such a strange idea. We eat plenty of foods grown in controlled conditions. We make yogurt, beer, cheese, bread, all which involve growing cells, growing cultures. Bread, for example, relies on tiny microorganisms called yeast, Y-E-A-S-T. And we all just accept that and eat bread very happily, don't we? But you may be pulling a face. You may be going, ugh, no thank you. Apparently the Food Standards Agency, the FSA, researched people's attitudes to cultivated meat in 2025. Over half of people, 59%, believe that cultivated meat could bring benefits for animal welfare, for the environment, and for the food supply. But a huge 85% of people have concerns about cultivated meat. Concerns about safety, concerns about it being unnatural, about farmers, and about the countryside. Will we no longer have cows and sheep in our fields? 85% is quite an obstacle, isn't it? You can see both sides, the advantages, but also people's natural dislike of the idea. And another survey by British company Ipsos asked more than 1,000 Brits in 2025 what they thought of cultivated meat. And the results? Well, there was a split according to age. Nearly half of Gen Z, 47%, said they would be fine with cultivated meat. But amongst baby boomers, so that's people over the age of 61, just 21% would be happy with cultivated meat. So younger people are much more open to it, while the older generations are much more skeptical. That's SCEPTICAL, meaning they have more doubts, they're not as easily convinced. I don't think we should automatically dismiss the opinions of older people. Perhaps their skepticism comes from having had governments previously who have assured people of the safety of something only to be proved wrong. There was a time, for instance, when people were told that smoking tobacco was healthy and good for your lungs. We only know what we know so far. The Ipsos survey also noted that 58% of people know nothing at all about cultivated meat, and 42% simply said it's unnatural and therefore they don't want to eat it. I do get that, don't you? There's a bit of what we call in English an ick factor. That's ICK. Ick means something slightly revolting, and food grown in a lab sounds weird science. But if you think too long about eating dead animal flesh, that's a bit weird too, isn't it? Or drinking cow's milk. You could see those things as odd choices too. But clearly they're very much part of our culture, so they seem normal. Unless, of course, you're vegetarian or vegan. Aside from the ick, I also think that there are things that science doesn't yet understand. So until a whole generation of people have eaten cultivated meat their whole lives, we won't really know what the health effects are. And that benefit to the environment? Well, a review document from 2025 analysed 118 scientific papers and found that cultivated meat could reduce greenhouse gases by 90% and reduce land use by 86% compared with traditional animal farming. Greenhouse gas emissions are gases like carbon dioxide that trap heat and warm up the planet, and that's generally seen as a negative thing. So lots of people support it and feel that its benefits would be amazing. I'm not so sure. What happens to our countryside? Does that mean people would be given permission to build all over it? I hope not. And there's another problem. Most of the data comes from labs, not from real producers who operate on a big scale. And cultivated meats are a bit like AI data centers. They use up a lot of energy. If that energy comes from fossil fuels, well, the environmental benefit is lost. Think about an electric car. It's only really green if the electricity is produced in a green way. If cultivated meats mean more fossil fuels being burned, not such a good idea. So is there anywhere in the world where humans can already eat cultivated meat? Well, Singapore approved it first in 2020, the United States followed in 2023, and Israel in 2024. The UK, by comparison, is still working out the rules and regulations. And some places, namely Italy and the US states of Alabama and Florida, have banned cultivated meats. So people have strong feelings either way about this. And a BBC report in 2025 said that cultivated meat could be on our dinner plates within 2 years. And Sky News reported in March 2026 that lab-grown foie gras, that French delicacy, is now being tested and could appear in restaurants very soon. Foie gras is delicious, but it is very cruel to the goose in the way that it's produced. That's goose, Goose. So I see the reason why they may lead with foie gras. And there are critical voices the campaign group Beyond GM, so presumably set up to challenge genetically modified food. Beyond GM worry that the companies writing the rules on cultivated meats are the ones who will benefit most financially. They'll make money out of it, in other words. It's a bit like AI being led by commercial businesses, isn't it? When it needs much more careful management than that. A spokesperson from Beyond GM said, lab-grown foods are ultimately ultra-processed foods. And we are in an era when we're trying to get people to eat fewer ultra-processed foods because they have health implications. That's an interesting viewpoint. So the science is racing ahead. The arguments for the environment are strong as long as we're not using fossil fuels to produce cultivated meat. But there are genuine questions about health effects, cost, and safety. And perhaps we wait and see how our pets respond to cultivated meat as well. Gosh, we are getting into real nuanced topics, aren't we? Which will help you pick up natural, sophisticated English language. Words like cultivated, skepticism, percentages. If you want more practice, we have extra episodes on our paid subscription service. Give it a try, you'll love it. So let me leave you with this thought. One day soon, within 2 to 5 years, you could walk into a supermarket and see 2 different packets of chicken, one from a farm, one from a bioreactor. Which one do you choose? I'm Hilary. Thank you for listening. See you next time.